I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, about my wife cheating on me, especially over something as bizarre as water rights. But here I am, and honestly it's a mess I didn't see coming. Jennifer and I had been together for about 7 years now. We met in college and things seemed fine, good even at first. We had our arguments like everyone else, but nothing that made me think she was capable of cheating. Or so I thought. It started a few months ago when she suddenly became distant. She'd be on her phone more often, always disappearing into the study or the guest bedroom. I'd ask her if everything was okay, and she'd brush it off, say she was stressed from work or dealing with some client issue. She's a bitchy lawyer, really good at pretending she's overwhelmed or just busy. But I knew her too well. I could see the flicker in her eyes, the way she'd dodge my questions, and the little lies she'd spin. It was subtle at first. Then I noticed her phone was never far from her. She'd hide it when I entered the room, and her texts became more frequent, more secretive. I'd catch her texting at odd hours, whispering into the phone like she was hiding some big secret. One night I came home early from a business trip, something I rarely do, and I just got a bad feeling. I decided to check her phone while she was in the shower. Bad idea, but I couldn't help it. I found messages, nothing explicit at first, but enough to make my stomach turn. It was her attorney, Mark, an international water rights specialist she'd been working with for the past year. They'd been meeting resource allocation to discuss legal strategies, but the texts revealed a different story. They were planning trips, sneaking around to meet near disputed territories, sharing private jokes and calling each other baby and honey. Some of the messages were clearly flirtatious, hinting at more than just professional collaboration. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. My wife, the woman I trusted, was lying to my face. I couldn't believe it. I kept reading, trying to make sense of it, but it was all laid out in front of me. This wasn't just work, this was an affair. I was furious, but mostly I was hurt, deeply hurt. How could she do this? After everything we'd been through. I waited for her to come out of the shower so I could confront her, but I already knew what I was going to say, or so I thought. When Jennifer finally stepped out of the shower, I was sitting on the couch, her phone clenched tightly in my hand. She looked at me with that signature bitchy smirk she always had when she thought she was in control. Her eyes narrowed as soon as she saw me holding her phone, and I could see the panic flicker behind her eyes for a moment before she masked it with a sneer. "What the hell are you doing?" she snapped, trying to snatch her phone back. Her voice was sharp, defensive, like she thought she could just brush it off, pretend it was nothing. But I wasn't about to let her get away with it. I held the phone out of her reach. "I think you know exactly what I'm doing," I said, voice cold. "I found the messages, Jennifer. The ones with Mark. The trips, the secret meetings near disputed territories. You've been lying to me this whole time. How long has this been going on?" Her face twisted into something ugly, defiance mixed with a hint of guilt. "It's not what you think," she hissed. "It's just work stuff. Mark and I are just discussing legal strategies, nothing more." I laughed bitterly. "Really? Because it looks a hell of a lot more than just work stuff when you're sharing baby and honey in your texts. And the trips, near war zones, Jennifer, that's not exactly a regular business meeting. Are you even listening to yourself?" She rolled her eyes, crossing her arms, trying to act dismissive. "Look, I didn't mean for you to find out. It's complicated, okay? I didn't want to hurt you, but I'm not happy either. This isn't just about you or me. It's about something bigger. You wouldn't understand." I clenched my fists. "Something bigger, like what, Jennifer? Sleeping with your lawyer for resource allocation meetings? Or is it just an excuse for you to go off and fuck someone else while I sit here thinking everything's fine?" Her lips curled into that bitchy smile again. "You're overreacting. If you just calm down, we could talk. Talk." I interrupted her harshly. "No, Jennifer, I've had enough of your lies. I saw the texts. I saw the trips. You've been lying for months, probably longer, and I'm supposed to just pretend I didn't see that you're not cheating on me with your lawyer." She looked at me, eyes blazing with a mixture of anger and contempt. "You're making this into some huge drama for no reason. Mark and I are just friends. We're working on some legal stuff, and yes, maybe I've been distant, but that doesn't mean I'm sleeping around. You're just paranoid." I shook my head, feeling like I might explode. "Paranoid? No, I'm just tired of being lied to. You've been sneaking around, lying about where you're going, and now I find out it's because you're fucking around with him. How long has this been going on? Months? A year?" She hesitated, then finally spat out, "Since last summer." "Yeah, since about then." "But it's not what you think, it's just sex. It's not like I love him or anything. I needed something. You're never around. You're always working, always busy. I got bored and he's just convenient." That was the moment I felt everything shatter inside me. Convenient. That's what she called it. I stared at her, feeling numb and yet boiling with rage. How could she say that? How could she reduce it to just sex, like it was some trivial thing? I felt betrayed, humiliated, and suddenly the world seemed to tilt sideways. I wanted to scream, to punch something, but instead I just looked at her. "Convenient," I echoed quietly. "You think I'm just convenient too? That I'm some fool you can lie to and cheat on?" "Well, Jennifer, you're right. I am tired. Tired of being lied to, tired of feeling like I wasn't enough. Whatever this is, you and Mark, this is over. I don't know what else to say." Her eyes flickered with defiance, but she knew she'd pushed too far. The fight was over, and I was left standing there, feeling like my world was crumbling. I never thought I'd be the guy who got betrayed like this, not by the woman I loved. I thought we had something real. But now, I wasn't sure if I'd ever trust her again. All I knew was that I had to figure out how to pick up the pieces, and that this wasn't going to end quietly. Not by a long shot. The silence that followed felt deafening. I stood there, staring at her while my mind was racing 1,000 miles an hour. I could see the flicker of anger and frustration in her eyes, but underneath that, I also saw something else, a flicker of fear, maybe even regret, but she quickly masked it with that biting smirk. "She's good at pretending, Jennifer. Always was." I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself, and then I said, "You lied to me for months, Jennifer. You let me believe everything was fine while you were off doing this. Do you even realize how much you've hurt me? How betrayed I feel right now? I trusted you. I thought I knew everything about us, but clearly I was blind." She rolled her eyes and scoffed. "Oh, please, don't turn this into some melodramatic soap opera. You think I wanted this? Honestly, I was bored. You're never around, always working that stupid legal thing you do, never giving me any attention. Mark was just easier. Someone I could talk to. Someone who actually listens instead of ignoring me all the time. And yeah, maybe we crossed the line, but it's not like I love him or anything. It's just sex, remember?" I clenched my fists so tight that I felt my nails digging into my palms. "Just sex. Do you hear yourself? You think that makes what you did okay? How would you feel if I went off and did the same with one of my clients? Would you still call it just sex then?" She looked away, her cheeks flushing with anger. "You're always so dramatic. You act like you're the only one who's been hurt. I hurt too, okay? I'm not some perfect wife. I'm not some angel. This was a mistake and I regret it, but I'm not some monster. You're making it sound like I've committed some unforgivable sin. Honestly, I don't know what you want from me now." That was the point where I felt my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. The words were choking in my throat because I didn't even know what I wanted anymore. All I knew was this betrayal, the lies, the entire illusion of our marriage had been shattered. I looked at her, this woman I'd loved, who now just looked like a stranger in my eyes. "I want honesty," I finally managed to say, voice trembling. "I want to know how long this has been going on, what else you've lied about, and what it all really means. Because right now, I feel like I don't even know who you are, Jennifer. I don't recognize the woman I married. If I stay, I need to know if I can even trust you again, or if this is just the start of a long, painful mess I don't want to be part of." She rolled her eyes again and scoffed. "You're overreacting. This isn't the end of the world. People make mistakes, you know. Maybe we just need some space, some time to figure things out. I'm not saying I want to leave, but maybe you do. Maybe you're just mad that I finally stood up for myself." I looked at her, feeling the sting of her words. Part of me wanted to scream, to curse her out for being so callous, so selfish. But instead, I just felt numb, like the air had been sucked out of my lungs. How could she be so dismissive? How could she pretend this was nothing? "I'm done," I finally said, voice flat but steady. "I need time to think, to process everything. But make no mistake, you've broken whatever little trust we had left. I don't know if I can fix this. And honestly, I'm not sure I want to. Right now, I just want you to leave. Give me some space. clear my head. She looked at me with that same bitchy smirk like she was already planning her next move. Fine, if that's what you want, but don't come crawling back when you realize you're alone. You're not perfect either, you know. You're just as much to blame for all of this. And with that, she turned and stormed out of the room, leaving me standing there, clutching her phone and feeling the weight of everything crashing down. I thought I knew what I was going to do, confront her, maybe scream at her, cry even. But as I watched her walk away, I felt an overwhelming mix of anger, sadness, and a strange sense of relief that I finally knew the truth. For the first time in a long time, I realized I had a decision to make, whether to fight for this or cut my losses and walk away. But one thing was clear, nothing would ever be the same again. I didn't sleep that night, not really. I just lay there staring at the ceiling, replaying everything I'd discovered. Her words kept echoing in my mind. "It's just sex," she said. "I regret it." "Yeah, sure, that's what they all say." But the truth was, I felt like I'd been punched repeatedly, betrayed, humiliated, almost numb. I kept asking myself how I'd missed all the signs, how I'd been so blind to who she really was. The next morning, I woke up early, feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My mind was racing, but I knew I had to act. I couldn't just sit around and wait for her to come back and pretend everything was fine. I needed a plan, not just to get through this, but to do something about it. I decided I'd go to the lawyer's office, Mark's office, and get some answers from him. I wasn't about to let him off the hook that easy, especially since he'd been part of all this. I grabbed my keys and headed out, feeling a strange mix of anger and determination. I wanted to confront Mark face to face, to see if he'd admit anything. I also wanted to talk to Jennifer again, but I knew better than to expect honesty from her. She's always been good at spinning lies and dodging blame. Still, I needed to hear her say it out loud, to see her squirm just a little. When I got to Mark's office, I was surprised to see his door slightly ajar. I walked in without knocking, and he looked up from his desk, eyes wide with surprise. "Can I help you?" he said, trying to sound casual, but I could see right through it. "Yeah," I said, voice low and hard. "You can start by telling me exactly what's going on between you and my wife. I found your messages. I know what this is about." He hesitated, then leaned back, trying to act nonchalant. "Look, man, I don't know what you think you saw, but Jennifer and I don't want to hear your excuses." I interrupted. "I want the truth. Were you sleeping with her? Were those trips to the disputed territories just cover for something else?" His face flushed, and for a moment he looked like he was about to deny everything. But then he sighed, defeated. "Yeah, we've been seeing each other. It's not just work. I've been with her for a while now, and yeah, we've been meeting in those places. Look, I didn't want to hurt you. Jennifer, she's been going through some stuff, and I guess I got caught up in it." I didn't think it would get this complicated. Hearing him admit it made my stomach turn. The betrayal sank even deeper. I felt my hands trembling, my mind swirling with anger, sadness, and a strange sense of helplessness. I'd always thought I was the one who was betrayed, but now I realized I'd been blindsided, not just by my wife, but by someone I thought was my friend, too. I looked at him, trying to find the words, but I was too overwhelmed. Instead, I turned and left the office without saying another word. I just needed to get out and breathe. Outside, the cold air hit me like a slap. The world didn't feel real anymore. Back home, I sat on the porch staring at the horizon. I was trying to process what I'd just learned. The woman I'd loved, the woman I thought I knew, was sleeping with her lawyer, her resource allocation partner, near war zones. How deep did this go? Did it start before I even found out? How many other lies had I missed? Every thought was like a punch to the gut. I knew I had to decide what to do next. I could stay and fight to save what was left, or I could walk away, cut my losses, and start over. I wasn't sure which was worse. All I knew was that I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay, because the truth was it was. Not anymore. Not after this. The peace I once had was gone, replaced by a storm of doubt and pain that I wasn't sure I could weather. Over the next few days, everything felt like a blur. I kept going over it in my head. Her words, her lies, Mark's confession. All the pieces that didn't fit together before but now made perfect, ugly sense. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her smirk, that dismissive look she gave me when she told me it was just sex. It made me feel sick. I felt like I'd been punched repeatedly, and honestly, I started questioning everything I believed about our marriage. I decided I needed space, not just to breathe, but to think clearly. I moved out of the house, staying at a friend's place, trying to distance myself from the chaos. The silence was deafening and the pain was sharp. I'd always prided myself on being level-headed, but right now I was just numb with rage and disappointment. I kept asking myself, how did I miss all the signs? How did I become so blind? One night, sitting alone in that small apartment, I finally accepted that I had to confront her again, not just with anger, but with clarity. I needed to hear her say what was really going on. No more lies, no more bullshit. I reached out to her and told her I wanted to talk face to face. She agreed reluctantly, and we set a time to meet. When she arrived, she looked tired, with dark circles under her eyes, but her attitude hadn't changed much. That same biting tone she always had. "So what now?" she asked, arms crossed. "You're gonna yell at me some more." I looked at her and took a deep breath. "Jennifer, I need to understand what's been happening. I need you to be honest. No more games. I know about Mark, about the trips, about everything. And I want to know why you did this. Was I such a terrible husband that you had to go behind my back? Or was I just convenient for you too?" Her eyes flickered with anger, but she kept her composure. "You really want to know? Fine, I was bored, okay? You were always working, always busy with your stupid legal stuff. I felt invisible. Mark was the only one who listened, who cared. It was just sex, I told you. It didn't mean anything. I didn't love him or anything. I just wanted to feel alive again, and I made a mistake, big deal. It's not like I planned to fall for him." That hit me like a punch in the stomach. Her words were cold and dismissive, like she was trying to brush aside the entire thing as some minor lapse. But I knew better. I knew what it was. It was betrayal, deep, raw, and unforgiving. I looked her in the eyes and said, "You call it a mistake. You cheat on me with your lawyer, sleep with him in those dangerous, disputed zones, and then tell me it's just sex. Do you even hear yourself?" Her face reddened, but she kept her tone snarky. "You're overreacting. It's not a big deal. People make mistakes. I didn't cheat on you for fun. I was just lost. You're never around, and I felt like I was screaming for attention. Maybe if you'd been here more, this wouldn't have happened." I felt a wave of anger rise up. "Lost? You were lost, so you went and got laid by your lawyer. That's your solution. And you think I should just accept that as some kind of excuse?" She scoffed, rolling her eyes. "Whatever. I don't care what you think anymore. I'm tired of pretending I care about your opinion. This isn't all on me. You're just as much to blame. You're never home, never paying attention. Maybe I did this because I was desperate for something real, and you—" "Stop," I interrupted her, voice trembling with emotion. "You're not the victim here, Jennifer. You're the one who ruined what we had. I thought I knew you, but I guess I never really did. I thought I was fighting for us, for our future. But all I got was lies, betrayal, and a woman I don't recognize anymore. I don't know if I can fix this, and honestly, I don't think I want to. I need to think about whether I want to keep going or just walk away." She looked at me, her eyes flashing with disdain. "Fine, do what you want, but don't come crying to me when you realize you're all alone. I'm done pretending, done hiding what I really am. You can choose to stay or go, whatever. Just know I won't be waiting around for your decision." And with that, she turned and stormed out, leaving me sitting there in the silence, feeling like my world had collapsed. I'd always believed in us, in our marriage, but now I saw it for what it was, something I'd held onto out of hope, not reality. The pain was overwhelming. All I knew was that I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay anymore. I had to make a choice. Time was running out, and I was starting to realize that whatever came next, nothing would be the same again. In the days that followed, I found myself waking up every morning with a heavy weight pressing down on my chest. The house felt emptier than ever, filled with memories that now seemed like echoes of a life I no longer recognized. I kept going back and forth. Should I try to fix things, or should I walk away completely? Every time I saw her face in my mind, the betrayal stung more than I could have imagined. I spent hours contemplating what to do next. The truth was, I was hurt, humiliated, but also angry beyond just anger. It was a mix of sadness, disappointment, and a strange, cold resolve. I realized that I deserved better than someone who could betray me so easily, someone who saw our marriage as just a game or a convenient distraction. That realization was both freeing and terrifying. One evening, I sat down with a clear head and made a decision. I would file for divorce, not out of spite, but because I needed to reclaim my dignity and move forward with my life. I couldn't keep living in the shadow of her lies, pretending everything was okay. I wanted to be able to trust again someday, but that wouldn't happen with her still in my life. It was time to cut the cord. The process wasn't easy. There were conversations, difficult, painful conversations, with lawyers, friends, and even myself. I had to confront the fact that the woman I loved had betrayed me in the worst way possible. But in the end, I knew that holding onto what was broken wouldn't fix anything. I had to let her go for my own peace of mind. The worst part of it all was the feeling of loss. Not just losing her, but losing the version of the future I'd imagined. That's the hardest thing to accept, how something that once felt so solid can crumble so quickly. I kept asking myself if I should have seen the signs, if I could have done something differently. But deep down, I knew I wasn't to blame entirely. Sometimes people change or reveal their true colors when you least expect it. As I packed up my things, I realized I had learned some hard lessons. Trust is fragile, love can be blind, and betrayal cuts deeper than words can say. But I also learned that I was stronger than I thought, that despite everything I could survive this. I could rebuild. And most importantly, I deserved someone who wouldn't lie or cheat, someone who would stand by me because they truly cared. Now, standing here as I write this, I feel a strange sense of relief. The pain is still there, but so is a sense of clarity. I know I'll heal. It might take time, but I will find happiness again. For anyone reading this who's going through something similar, trust me, it hurts like hell, but you'll get through it. Because in the end, no betrayal can define you unless you let it. And I refuse to let this destroy me. I will move forward stronger and wiser because I know now what I deserve and I won't settle for anything less.